Joining me now, right here on set with great pleasure, the great Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, author of a new book, Justice Corrupted, How the Left Weaponized Our Legal System, which will be available tomorrow. Wait a second. I'm going to flip this book right up here, and you're going to show it to me on set. There we go. Senator Cruz, it is wonderful to have you on set, sir. It's great to see you in person.
Larry, great to be with you.
My pleasure. One of the themes of this show recently, I hate to do it, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not lie. Joe Biden is incapable of telling the truth about the economy.
Yep.
As recently as just the other day, the latest one is he's going back. The Trump tax cuts only help rich people, et cetera, et cetera. He's done nothing to stop the production of oil and gas. Now, you're a veteran. You've seen this. You're a senator, as a presidential candidate. What do you make of this? I mean, are people going to buy into this?
So I don't think anyone buys into it. You're right, though, that it is more brazen. Usually, you think back to Bill Clinton. Remember the compliment about Bill Clinton, that he's an unusually good liar, which was not much of a compliment. Well, I got to say, Joe Biden is an unusually bad liar, because what he says doesn't pretend to have any hook to reality. So he stands up and says, oh, it's Democrats that are fiscally responsible. Like, nobody who has not been in an LSD-induced coma for the last 2 years believes that. The White House press secretary stands up and says, on illegal immigration, people just aren't walking across the border. It's simply not happening. Like, I've been down there over and over and over again. I brought senators down there. You encounter people literally every hour of every day, and they gaslight the American people. One of their more recent spins is they tried to say it was Republicans who wanted to shut the schools down. Like, it's just utterly ludicrous. I got to say, it was very impressive of Republicans to manage to shut the schools down only in blue states controlled by Democrats. I mean, that's some Houdini-level stuff, and they're counting on the corrupt corporate media to carry their spin. I don't think the American people are buying it.
The latest one that annoyed me so much was he's attacking the Trump tax cuts as tax cuts for the rich. And in our riff and in our discussions on the show today, every data point we have shows the biggest winners from the 2017 tax cuts were the blue-collar middle class, the lower middle class, minority groups, Hispanics, blacks, Asians, women, for example. And the upper end actually didn't get much relief because they closed down the state and local tax deduction. Remember that? So the rich Biden backers are still bleeding about that. I mean, he continues with this Democrat malarkey about tax cuts for the rich.
Well, and it's actually very funny. The socialists in the Democrat Party, the one tax cut they wanted is they wanted to give back full deduction for state and local taxes so that billionaires in blue states could not pay as much, because that's who's funding the Democrat Party. Look, if you look at the results, here's a radical economic proposition. Jobs are good. I mean, you look at the results, and you were in the Trump White House. You saw it firsthand. We had the lowest unemployment in 50 years. We had the lowest African-American unemployment ever recorded, lowest Hispanic unemployment ever recorded. We had booming prosperity. We had 7 million people come off of food stamps, get jobs, and provide for their kids. Poverty was going down. Median wages were going up. And listen, Larry, part of the reason why I think this election is going to be such a wave election, it's going to be like 2010. Republicans are going to retake both houses, is a very simple question for folks at home. Are you better off now than you were 2 years ago when Joe Biden became president? And if you're a big tech billionaire, if you're a human trafficker, if you're a fentanyl dealer, then the answer is yes, and you probably ought to vote for the Democrats. But for everyone else, life has gotten much, much worse. If you're a senior at home, and you've worked 20, 30, 40 years, you've saved responsibly, you have a 401k, you have retirement, you've seen your 401k plummet 20, 25%, 30%. The average nationwide is $34,000 of retirement savings have been blown up under Joe Biden. You have less to provide for your needs, and the cost of everything is going up. You're having a hard time putting food on the table, paying rent, paying mortgage, paying gasoline. Those folks are pissed. And we've also seen the national studies showing of people near retirement, fully a third of them have delayed their retirement because of the disaster of the Biden economy. People want to get back to jobs and prosperity. I think there's no more important issue in this election.
He was delivered a boom in the first quarter of his presidency growth was 6.5%. He's calling that a recession as recently as Friday. Within 12 to 15 months, the economy is heading down in a contraction. He was delivered an inflation rate, Senator, that was slightly above 1%. It has risen almost 13% during his presidency. He denies all this, and I think I come back to this point. Oh, let me say this, too. So he's saying the deficit came down $1.4 trillion. It had nothing to do with him. His original program would have increased it by $4 or $5 trillion. He didn't say, though, $5 trillion in new debt and borrowing requirements, which is what mainstream nonpartisan groups are saying. So I'm just thinking that part of this wave you describe, with which I completely agree, people have lost confidence in him. If you can't deal with the facts, then you're not the guy to solve the problems.
And when you're fundamentally dishonest, look, you're an economist. Since you and I were both in short shorts, a recession has been defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. We're in that. We have had 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. And what did the White House do right before the second consecutive quarter came out? They magically redefined recession to say, oh, no, that's no longer a recession. I guess that's like a fuzzy bunny rabbit now or something. And the Orwellian doublespeak to say this recession doesn't count. Listen, you're right. When Biden came into office, he had enormous advantages. You had idiot blue state Democrats who had shut much of the economy down. People were going back to work. Talk about a tailwind. If he'd just shut up and gone down to the basement and done nothing, we would have continued with economic growth and prosperity. But instead, they assaulted, number one, American energy production. Dozens of new rules, regulations, cutting off debt, cutting off equity capital, hammering U.S. production.
Well, hang on, Senator Cruz, hang on. He said on Thursday he has done nothing to block oil and gas production. He said that. He said that definitively. Are you saying he was wrong?
No, I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm saying he's lying. There's a difference between being wrong and lying. First day in office, what did he do? Halted the Keystone Pipeline. That's 800,000 barrels a day of oil from Canada he shut down. Within days after that, he shut down new oil leases onshore and offshore. And by the way, when he was campaigning for president, he promised to shut down new leases onshore and offshore on federal land. He followed through on that promise. Not only that, shortly thereafter, he shut down production on ANWR, the incredibly petroleum-rich area of Alaska. We have seen, and I talk to leaders in the oil and gas business all the time, in Texas and across the country. What we have seen is a regulatory onslaught. The banking regulators he's putting in are trying to cut off all new debt, and there are a bunch of woke Wall Street banks that won't loan to oil and gas. And the SEC is trying to cut off new capital. Now, check me on this, and it's been a while since I've taken an economics class. But if a company can't get debt and it can't get capital, how the hell are they supposed to drill new wells?
They can't. That's why the Baker Hughes rig count never recovered. By the way, we're still at 11.8 million barrels. Pre-COVID, we were 13.1 million barrels. We should be at 14 or 15 million.
And he even more revealing.
He says, I didn't do anything to obstruct it. I mean, it's really hard to believe. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No. You're exactly right.
It's just craziness.
Even more revealing than that is the news that broke in the last week that he desperately begged Saudi Arabia not to stop cutting production. He was fine with that. He said, can you delay it a month? Get to November 8th, get to Election Day, because he wants to confuse the voters and have gas prices dip slightly, hoping that they will foolishly vote for give us more of this pain. And then he was perfectly fine with their cutting productions and prices skyrocketing. Listen, $5 a gallon gas or $6 or $7 a gallon gas, it's not an accident. It is the intended outcome. The average nationwide was $2.38 a gallon when Joe Biden got elected. And if he has his way, it'll go up to $10 or more. That's what they want, because they want to make your life so painful that you sell your truck or your SUV and you buy a little Prius, and they're willing to just have single moms and working people suffer a lot of pain in between in the interest of their extreme agenda. It's why we're going to see a great victory, I think, in November.
So let's advance that story, a great victory in November. Republicans are likely to take House and Senate. You are a leader in the Senate, important spokesman on a lot of issues. You'll be faced with an economic crisis. You will probably have the double whammy of continued high inflation and a worsening recession. I would say it's incumbent to hit the ground running right from the get-go and show the American public solutions.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take this?
Listen, on inflation, you and I are both big fans of the legendary economist Milton Friedman, Nobel laureate, who explained exactly right. He said, in the United States, there's one and only one cause of inflation: the federal government spending too much money. You want to know why we have record inflation? Last year, federal government took in over $4 trillion in tax revenues, the most in the history of our country. We should have been sitting pretty, but what happened? The government spent nearly $7 trillion. $7 trillion is a lot more than $4 trillion. And when you run the printing presses 24 hours a day, the value of everyone's savings, the value of everyone's income plummets. And that's what's happening across the country. Step number one is stop spending money. Stop bankrupting the country. Stop doing harm. The Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. That, with Republican majorities, we can stop the ridiculous, out-of-control spending. Secondly, we need real oversight. If we take a majority in the Senate, which I think we will, I'm next in line to be chairman of the Commerce Committee. The Commerce Committee has jurisdiction over about half of the U.S. economy. You can expect real and vigorous oversight of the administration's job-killing policies, of their assault on the energy industry, where you're going to have hearings and walking through everything they're doing, hurting American workers, hurting American jobs.
Can you go through, can you rescind regulations? Can you go through, there's a Congressional Review Act that hasn't been used very much. You want to rescind spending,
yes.
A1. How about rescinding the regulations?
So you can. Now, Biden can veto it, but we need to use the Congressional Review Act to try to rescind regulations and to force votes, and also to force Biden, if he wants to veto it, he can, but we need to hold him accountable. We also, I serve on the Judiciary Committee, one of the senior Republicans on Judiciary. My new book that just comes out tomorrow, Justice Corrupted, is all about how the Obama administration and now the Biden administration turned the federal government, turned the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, into a weapon to target their political enemies. And it is dangerous. We see it with FBI agents raiding Mar-a-Lago. We see it with differential justice Steve Bannon being sentenced to 4 months in jail, which is ridiculous.
Crazy.
And what the book does is it walks through how exactly Obama and Biden did that. It also walks through January 6th. It's the first inside account of what happened on January 6th. As you know, I stood on the Senate floor and led the objection for the Senate. And so the book tells that inside story.
We have to get out. I love talking to you. I talked to you for the whole hour. But you see this story, 30 million IRS files were lost?
Yeah.
Not in the cloud. What happened to them? And they won't show the memo that okayed the destruction of those 30 million? And we're giving them 87,000 more agents to do what, may I ask?
Look, the story that the book tells is it starts with Richard Nixon. I am not a Nixon fan, but it describes in great detail how Nixon tried to do this. Yeah. Nixon tried to use DOJ and the IRS and the FBI to target his political enemies. By and large, the system worked. By and large, those agencies resisted. Nixon resigned in disgrace. What Nixon tried to do, Obama succeeded in doing. And now, under Biden, it is metastasized. So take the IRS. Remember Lois Lerner?
Yes, I do.
Under Obama.
Never met her, but I remember the story.
Yeah.
And she ran out of town.
And she targeted, the Obama IRS targeted conservatives for their political belief, persecuted them. When that happened, and the book walks through this, Obama said he was angry, and the American people have a right to be angry. And you know what happened? She was held in contempt of Congress. The Obama DOJ refused to prosecute her. She resigned with her full pension. There was zero consequences whatsoever. It is lawless and shameless, and everything that happened under Obama, under Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, is much, much worse.
I love it that you're going to have this regulatory oversight. You personally will have this. Here's the book. It's called Justice Corrupted, How the Left Weaponized Our Legal System. Available tomorrow. I'm just going to say one click on Amazon. Senator Ted Cruz, you're fabulous. Thank you for visiting on set, sir. Appreciate it.